Part 36. The beast that thou sawest was, and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was, and is not, and yet is. This is talking about Satan. He had the 7 heads, the 10 horns. He went into the bottomless pit. He gave his power unto the beast. Then he ascends back out of the bottomless pit to overcome the 2 witnesses. That happened at the 7th trumpet. What happened, right? Whenever it talks about 2 witnesses and their 1,260 days, the 7th trumpet happened. While Jesus was reigning from 66 AD until part of 70 AD, Satan was in the bottomless pit. It says, and here is the mind which hath wisdom. Satan and Jesus couldn't rule at the same time. Listen. It says, and here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. Now who killed all the prophets? Jerusalem. Who was told, O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, thou that killest the prophets? Who was told that all the blood of all the prophets would be required at the hands of that generation? Who was told that they would persecute and slay the apostles? And who was told to rejoice over her? The apostles. They went to her. And there are 7 hills in Jerusalem. They would say, let us go up to Jerusalem, the city on 7 hills. And here's another great timestamp in Revelation. And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. Whenever the book of Revelation was written, 5 of these kings had already fallen. These are your King Herods, your Herod Tetrarchs, those guys, the kings of Judea. Because in 63 BC, General Pompey ousted those who were in Israel so he could allow all of Israel back into their land, and they could have a nation and be at peace, and then they got Judean kings. And then they built the temple, and then Jesus came, and then Jesus said not one stone in that temple would stand upon another, and that generation wouldn't pass until all things were fulfilled. Well, the kings of this beast and mystery Babylon are the kings in Israel. And when Revelation was written, 5 of them had already fallen. 1 was ruling then, and the next one would rule for a short time. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, and goeth into perdition. That is talking about Satan. The beast that was, and is not, he will come back up out of the bottomless pit. Like it said, he'll ascend up out of the bottomless pit. And what happens when he does that? The beast that ascends up out of the bottomless pit overcomes the 2 witnesses and kills them. This is at the 7th trumpet, meaning Jesus' work is finished. He delivers the kingdoms of the world and the kingdoms of Christ to God, and then the wrath of God comes where he can pour out his wrath. Satan is the 8th head of this beast. He was of all of them, and he came back up out of the bottomless pit to gather all the armies together. Stay tuned.